Welcome to the Gaming Trend Podcast, the official podcast of GamingTrend.com. My name is Anthony Shelton, and I am joined by David Burdett.
Hello there.
And also Noah Rigsby.
Hi, everyone.
In this podcast, we talk about the latest games we could get our hands on. We talk about the games in our backlog we should have played a long time ago, and games you absolutely need to play. We also squeeze in news now. So for one solid hour, David got to play with his new shiny PSVR2, so we'll get his initial impressions on that. I've been playing a little bit more of Hi-Fi Rush, so I have some more solid thoughts on that. And Noah's got a game called Souls of Chronos 2. Never heard of it, so I hope to be surprised. Also, Atomic Heart, which David reviewed, so we'll definitely talk about that. Sony's latest State of Play happened, so we'll share our takeaways on that as well. So let's start with Atomic Heart. Just take the floor. There, go.
So Atomic Heart, I guess I can start with it this way. Like, this thing has reviews that are all over the place right now. Like, the reviews are very mixed on it. I love the game. It's honestly, it depends on kind of where you sit in the genre as well as where you sit with what Atomic Heart is doing. Because it's sitting in the, I guess the easiest way to put it is narrative FPS. It's a BioShock style game, which honestly, there haven't been a lot of games that have attempted BioShock, which is, considering how many people copy concepts, is kind of incredible. Maybe it just came from an era where everything wasn't as big. Maybe it was just that sales weren't as big of a deal, even though I'm pretty sure BioShock sold pretty well to constantly be thrown into remakes and remasters and whatnot. But we've not really seen this take on it, and given this is Munfish's first game that they've done, what they've put together is actually very impressive. One of the things that you notice right off the bat is the game is just visually, it's gorgeous. That's not something that you always see, especially in a first debut, because a lot of times you're having to nail that kind of, a lot of times graphics are kind of secondary, or they spend a lot of time focusing on it so nothing else works. And it's, or you go for a different kind of art style with indie, especially not as the more realistic kind of style. But it is the gameplay that our video watchers are seeing. Like, this is my gameplay from the PS5, and it looks fantastic. Like, they did a really good job putting all these character models together. Once it gets into the gameplay, like when you're in the outside world, everything, the scale of everything, all the mountains in the distance, the buildings, everything, it looks beautiful. But then when you get inside these facilities, because everything's condensed, there's even more attention to detail and all the little things just around the facility. You got all these, the ripped up floors, the bodies strewn around, the blood marks on the floor, all those kind of things. Like, it's all really cool how this team has been able to put everything together, and the fact that it looks really good on console. You're not having, this isn't just, oh, I'm playing it on PC, that's the only way this game looks good. No, it looks even better on PC, but it already looks fantastic on console. So, because they've actually worked with NVIDIA, they've got DLSS running. So, I mean, I've seen some of Ron's footage, and the shadows and stuff that they're able to put in here are just ridiculous. Now, as far as the game itself goes, one of the things that I really like about it is that whole dual hand thing that you get with everything. So just like BioShock, you have powers on your left hand, and you've got your weapon on the right hand. And just like BioShock, again, you've got melee, whereas with this, you do have several melee weapons you can work with. You've also have a couple of different guns that you can use at the same time. I was surprised because if you watch video of this, if you watch previous trailers, you're going to immediately think that the melee's clunky. Like it looks clunky when you're actually using. And yes, I did just get attacked by a pig inside that video. When you are using the melee weapons, it does not feel clunky holding the controller. And that's all that really matters in the end. It feels responsive. It feels like your hits are landing. And that to me is what matters when you're playing a game like this, when you're doing melee. Because yeah, there is a lot of times where you're just smacking the button and you're just flailing around like Skyrim or Dying Light or something like that. But you're you feel the weight of the weapon pretty well. So I was very happy with how that at least went across, as well as there are some lighter melee weapons that they have in there, so you can have more like the axe that you're wielding. That's two-handed, so it is a lot heavier. But I could craft a like one-handed axe or whatnot, and just it's a lot quicker. So there's an actual benefit to the upgrade system as well with changing some of this stuff around. Same thing happens with the guns. You've got your quick pistols that you're using, but then I was able to craft my favorite actual gun in the game was the AK, they have a different name on it. And I can't remember what it is, but the AK-47. It's very useful as you're running around. But of course, one of the things that's the most fun to use is the powers. You Something that's interesting to me with Atomic Heart that doesn't happen in a lot of games like this is they don't use the powers as a you have to get this power to access this area. Like a lot of games do that with as a way to kind of get you to want to to get certain powers. There's one power you have to get at the very beginning, which is shock, to open a door. That is the only time beyond one that Digital Foundry found, which was solving a puzzle, that you will actually need your powers for. Like, you could go the whole game and decide, I don't want to upgrade any of these powers. I don't want to buy any of them with my earnings from killing robots. I just want to use shock the whole game. You can do it if you want to. So that I like because it gives you that freedom of choice of you go in the powers menu. It kind of surprised me because I look like I'm like, wait, all of them are here. I can buy whatever the heck I want. So I went with freeze for the majority of the first half of the game, thinking, okay, I'm just going to freeze everything up, which is, it's as fun as it looks in the different gameplay trailers. Like when you just stop a robot completely and just the ice goes over it. And then you just walk up and smack it a couple times and break it apart. It's awesome. But as I went on, I ended up upgrading the mass telekinesis. And man, there is something about picking up, like when you have a bunch of these things come at you all at once, and then you use that and you kind of see that hand like go up and you see all of your enemies rise in the air. Then you let it go and you see them just bring his arm down and then all of them smash down around you. That's just a satisfying power to use. One of the reasons we play these kind of games, power fantasy. You got to sell me on the power fantasy of it. And while the game isn't always a power fantasy, man, mass telekinesis, like there was one specific level I was playing where a bunch of they're these trying to figure out if infected works for them or zombie. I don't know what you could really call them. They call them mutants in the game. I guess that's the best thing to go with because there's this parasitic plant that turns them into these feral corpses into feral creatures. And there was a bunch of these things just coming out of doors at me as I was waiting for a performance to finish up from a robot so that I could get an item that I needed. So it was one of those moments of I wasn't having to defend anything, but is one of those moments in the game where they're like, oh, okay, let's pad this out by having you sit here and listen to a robot sing while a bunch of bad guys come at you, like a horde mode kind of thing. And I don't know that any of them actually touched me because I kept just mass telekinesis lifting them up whenever a couple of them would get in. I'd let them get as close as they could. Then I'd just lift them up and smash them down. And because of the difficulty I was playing on, it was like an instant kill. So it was funny because I felt like I kind of cheesed That is like, oh, you're gonna cheese me, game, by making me survive waves of enemies. I'm gonna cheese you, and it worked. And there's just like there's other things. It's nice to know that I can go back to the game and explore it with a couple of other powers and see how it works. It gives me a reason to go back rather than, okay, here's a specific door, and unless you have this power, you can't get through it. Like shock, it makes sense. That's you have to that's a some one of those powers that it makes sense that they would tie some things to. But it's what's interesting about shock is actually a power that exists as its own button, whereas these other powers are all controlled by one. Shock is the only thing that has its own dedicated button as far as powers. Everything else is controlled with another button when it comes to your powers. So I just like the system. Like it works really well. The upgrades feel really good. One of the things you may notice in the video, like to do upgrades, you're picking things up. One of the coolest looting options I've ever seen in a video game is inside Atomic Heart. And all it is you hold down the telekinesis button, which I'll be honest, the regular telekinesis is not very useful. Because pretty much all you do is you pick something up and you throw it to distract something. That's really all you end up doing with it. It's not regular telekinesis. However, when you walk into a room and there's a bunch of drawers and all that, all of us hate that, right? You go into a room, you're like, I gotta check the trash can, I gotta check this, I gotta check that. They completely just threw that out, and all you do is you hold down that button for telekinesis and you walk past these drawers, and as the prompt button comes up for you to hit that button, if you're just holding it down, all of a sudden the door will just open or the top of the box will open up and the items will fly to you. So it'll actually show it right here in this clip.
Yeah,
That's looting.
It's such a time saver.
It's just one of those things of there's always that, I didn't know I needed this until I used it. And they even do this whole in this actual section that we're watching, they actually do your glove actually walks you through a thing of, oh, this is how you have a backpack and it actually takes all the things that you get and it shrinks them and then it unshrinks them later when you need them. And so it actually gives you this kind of neat little idea of how everything is working the way it's working. And it just feels very satisfying to loot things in this game. And I know that's a really silly thing to be like over the moon about, but I was kind of over the moon over just how awesome it is to loot things in this game. Because it really lends itself to that power fantasy.
Are the things you're looting things you have to look at?
Nope. You don't have to check any of them. It actually just throws it in your inventory and everything that it's almost like you're grabbing very specific things that are useful to you. So that's the other benefit of it is you aren't going to end up with stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
So I don't know how random it is or how they've gone about like the specific stuff you get if like they said, hey, this drawer is going to have these things in it. But in the end, all of these you're getting crafting materials that are useful to you to make shotgun shells or cartridges so that you can make your axe have a fire or a freeze empowerment or whatnot. So
All right,
go ahead. No. I was about to move into something else. What did you have?
One of my concerns when I was watching all the trailers was melee combat. Obviously, you said using melee weapons feels good. How does the combat feel? Because from the trailers, it looks like you take a hit, take a step back so you don't get hit, go in, swing, maybe you hit, maybe you miss, step back so you don't get hit. It's just kind of this dance back and forth, which could get pretty monotonous. Is it more complex or interesting than that?
I think so, and the reason being is you can change very quickly your weapons in combat. So there is a weapon wheel. So is assuming if you've got kind of one of those Resident Evil backpacks of this takes up this many squares, so you gotta equip everything. And I had like 4 different weapons equipped. I could have put more in there. I just didn't. So I was swapping back and forth between some of my guns in certain combat situations to my melee, and it does the whole Bioshocky, or it's more gun games do it, but the slow down so that you can kind of have that moment to breathe. To okay, I need to move over to this weapon, but then of course the powers changes things up as well because obviously in the middle of like a melee situation, like you said, sometimes you're dodging around, but I freeze this guy, take a couple whacks at him, shock that guy to keep him off my back while I finish this guy off. That's really where the dance ends up for the most part, is you're using these different systems together to make things work. I had quite a few situations where it was because they allow you to have 2 powers beyond shock active at once, and you flip between these two. So sometimes I would be like fighting I'd be fighting one dude, but then all of a sudden I moved my way into where the group of them were starting to come at me. So I would switch over to mass telekinesis and lift them all up, smash them down. But then I'd have this guy come over, so I'd have to flip over to freeze him, whack at him a couple times while his buddy's coming up, and I'm waiting for my telekinesis to recharge. So there is, like I said, I think there's a lot there as to what you can do. Especially because you can add certain status effects to your weapons through the cartridge system, either being electricity, fire, or freeze, ice. So I could specifically equip certain weapons with these cartridges that, oh, I know that the robot's electricity is going to affect them more, so I need to pull that out. But oh wait, this mutant's coming around the corner. I need to use fire on him. So there's a point, I guess, to everything, and it does help you out as you're moving through.
Does in the gameplay, you have the melee, the attack weapons, and then you have guns and stuff. How was the ammo economy? Like, were you able to, because I prefer gunplay, could I go through the game strictly gunplay and not have to, obviously have to go scavenge specifically for ammo? But is there player freedom to kind
Yes.
of? Okay.
Yeah. At the start, obviously, you start with a melee weapon, so you're going to spend at least the first little bit fighting, scavenging, stuff like that. But the game, at least, once again, I played on a lower difficulty just so I could kind of enjoy it and look at some of the systems without being killed. The game was extremely generous in me just picking up and finding ammo. And that's without me doing anything with my scavenged crafting to be able to build more ammo through my crafting. So, and the crafting stations are pretty. This is an area I don't think will be as difficulty. I don't think would change it much. The stations you go to save and to craft, they're pretty prevalent throughout. Like there's a plenty of them throughout there, so you'd have opportunities to build plenty of ammo, and there's a lot of different kinds of ammo as well for different guns. So once again, I never really came to a spot where I was like, oh crap, I don't have any ammo. I just I enjoyed the melee enough that honestly I spent a lot of time using it, and then switched to those projectile weapons more when I had to, because they're like, for instance, there's several flying enemies that are smaller in the game. It makes no sense for me to be swinging an axe at these things, especially when half the time I can't even reach them. So I would actually pull out either a regular gun, or one of the things they have is they have electric weapons. and your melee fighting actually charges your energy resources. So I could run up, melee a guy a couple times to build up my energy resource, switch to my electro, one of my weapons, fire off a couple of shots, and I had quite a few shots actually out of it, but then switch back over to my melee when I ran out and just start whacking again at some of these enemies to build that energy back up. So kind of a like Black Panther's ability in the movies, how they hit him and his vibranium absorbs it and then he can use it. So same idea.
Is there a reason why or the reviews are so mixed? Like, are there things you're seeing in it where it's like, oh, okay, I could kind of see where these other people are coming from?
There are two specific things actually that I wanted to bring up, and I brought them up in my review as things that didn't bug me. Like, and in one case, I actually thought it was hilarious compared to everybody else thinking it was cringy. I'll start with that one. The main character is kind of chatty. Like he makes lots of like just random comments and very some people could take it as annoying. And he's super corny, and he's I put it as
right up your alley. You're like,
I put it as he's a I put it as he's a Duke Nukem kind of character. Like that. I don't think he's that bad, but that's excuse me. That's the kind of character that he can come off as. I thought he was just this. It was more campy to me, where it's like, oh, this is so bad, it's funny.
That's right up your alley. I see why it didn't bother you.
Yeah, there was actually there are multiple times where like he uses like the dude curses like crazy, but for some reason his catchphrase in this like he yells it at one point as he drops down this secret trying to think elevator. He goes, "Crispy critters." And I don't know why he says crispy critters, but it's hilarious to me. Like, once again, I'm the guy who likes this. Nobody else. Yeah, this is like the B movie stuff that, like, I'm not necessarily huge on B movies or whatnot, but like I found it campy where I enjoyed it. And I can understand other people not enjoying it. I thought the voice acting was on point from him. The glove, it's an AI that talks with you. I thought that was actually really well voiced with the way that they treat it. And the main bad guy, at least the your boss, the everybody assumes at least is your bad guy, is I thought he was perfect. Like the guy is this doctor who's doing all these different things, and he comes across as very mysterious in his tone. Like, I guess the easiest way to put it is his tone leads you to this, I really don't know what your intentions are. And that to me is a really well done villain character when you truly can't read them based on how they are coming across. And I thought that was well written. So that was kind of the first thing that I think people didn't enjoy as much, whereas I did with the character. The second thing is the open world. And that is because the open world exists to me as a backdrop for what you were doing. It is not the main reason you were there. And I think I understood that
more a like little bit more world than an open world.
It's there. There's some stuff to do in it, but it's never the reason that you are playing this game. Like, there are a couple of dungeons. There's some other things apparently that you can find if you take the time to explore. But it's more, okay, I can go off on this side and try to get this upgrade by going to this dungeon. The dungeons are actually very good. Like, I did a little bit of that, and they're these really neat little fight a boss enemy and then have to solve some puzzles. I thought that was really good. The puzzles actually, another thing that I can just speak to, that their environmental puzzles are fantastic. Really, really enjoyed how they did all of that. But the open world, I could see it getting annoying, just the fact of it's not very realized. So you only have these specific areas that you can really go to. There's not like all these different buildings to explore or other side quests to do. There are cameras that are watching around for the robots, so you can very quickly get attacked by a bunch of robots if you're not careful going around in the open world. However, once again, there is no quest log, or in the map there isn't a great map, but it's because whenever you finish it's just like a linear story game. They immediately just stick okay, this is your next objective, this is where you need to go, right on your screen. There's no switching through different quests. You just go wherever you're going. If you decide you want to go to a dungeon, one of these dungeons, the testing labs, your next story objective is still sitting there on your screen as to where you are needing to go. So what's kind of interesting is they didn't necessarily need this open world at all. Like the game would have worked just fine without it. So I can see where people might be frustrated with that. But again, I think it's more of a backdrop for what you are doing, as opposed to this is the reason I'm playing this game. So I once again, for me, I jumped in one of the cars, I drove to the next area a lot of the time, and I continued to play the game. So I don't think it's a necessary... The thing is, I finished the game and I didn't do a lot of that, so it's obviously not necessary to do unless you just want to do more with upgrading. So that's at least where I fell on the open world. I thought it was a cool backdrop. It's really cool to see everything as a whole, and maybe it's something they decide to build more of if they make it to Atomic Heart 2.
All right. Is that all you got? For
I think
Atomic
so.
Heart?
Beyond, I guess the last thing I'll say is
This is the podcast. There you go.
the platforming is not good. The platforming is not good. Thankfully, there's not a lot of it, but the platforming is not very good. The climbing around it's very clunky, and I had one spot where, I kid you not, I fell like 10 times, and it was a story progression, have to get to the next area, platforming section. I'm like, oh, come on.
Did they have mantling?
Not really. It's like I said, it's straight up like a normal platforming. Like, you see the outline edges of where you should be jumping to. And I mean, I would get myself all the way to the edge of one of these and turn, like, and you'd have the arm sticking out, and like I was just trying to find the right spot, and I could not find the right spot to jump.
That's a yikes from me.
Like it's like, bro, I've watched you smack around all of these robots. There's no way your physical fitness is so bad that, like, are you just winded? I mean, I get that we just fought a big robot, but
You may not
he's out
have
of breath.
developed those little muscles to be able to make those kind of leaps, you know.
yeah. Beyond that, an absolutely awesome soundtrack. I before this podcast, like, and I've been the last couple days, I've been listening to Arlecchino, which is Harlequin is what it stands for, and it has like the little carnival kind of sounding, the do 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 like that. I guess it's part of the song from Russia, and it's an old song, and they mashed that old audio track with mainly the vocals into this like heavy metal. I'll have to send it to you guys because I love this track. But I've been, kid you not, like, I was been writing about Call of Duty Season 2 to get up on Gaming Trend for the last hour, and I've had that on loop on YouTube. I've been listening to this song constantly, and it's just the whole the whole metal motif that they've got, which they actually brought Mick Gordon in, the one who worked on Doom. He helped with the soundtrack, but they've also got some cool techno kind of style beats, as well as some older music, kind of like that song specifically, that it's playing the older track as well as what they did to kind of mix things up. So that the soundtrack it's awesome.
S tier for soundtrack.
Yes, exactly.
Very good. Would you rate it?
I gave it a 95 out of 100 because honestly, the only issues I had was a couple of technical bugs in the platforming, and both of those showed up so rarely that how can I not love it? And I mean, I played it on console. I played it where there should be more issues. PC, I can brute force my way through some things.
Is that your philosophy on consoles?
That's what that's what
There
it feels
should
like
be more
sometimes. Is
problems.
that's what it feels like sometimes is that I'm able to brute force my way through a lot of issues sometimes. So some of it though, the performance really is incredible.
For spoken
the fact
words
that
better on console versus PC, if you want the opposite
the-
analogy, I think
Yeah.
it could go either way.
I guess it's such a clean 4K 60 on consoles. Like I'm just very impressed, and like I said, it's not just it looks so good on console, and then it looks even better on PC. So they just it's a really impressive debut for any studio.
I guess we'll see what it looks like on the one consoles and the 4.
Yep.
We'll see.
It is on Game Pass, so you can give it a try whenever you get a chance, Anthony.
Oh, I know, but I have a series, so
Yeah, it'll look good on that.
yeah, I'm not worried about that. I'm concerned for those who are stuck with the ones right now, or the 4s. And yes, you are stuck with a 4. I don't care how much you like a PlayStation 4, you're stuck with it right now.
Hey, I don't care how much you like an Xbox One. You're stuck with that too.
Yeah, you're stuck with that too. Absolutely. Just saying.
VCR.
Ooh. Yep.
The VCR and the airplane. Yep. Well, I have been playing more Hi-Fi Rush. I'm probably halfway through. Maybe almost halfway through. I've been playing Overwatch 2 Season 3 as well as that, so that's why I'm not further along. But when I first started playing it, I wasn't sure how much I would like the combat. It wasn't gelling with me as far as a pure action game. I felt the BPM aspect of it made it feel slower. Not clunky. Didn't make it feel bad. It just made it feel slower where I felt like it should have been a little bit more stuff going on. Now that I'm further in, I could definitely say that nope, that's not even the case. That game is full on action. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to I wouldn't say micromanage, but multitask while you are fighting all the robots. It's fun. It's very fun. You get to a point where the BPM hitting everything on beat almost becomes second nature. You're focusing on it at first, trying to hit the beats, trying to get the stuff. But now I don't even have to think about it much. It's not often I will miss beats. I started anywhere between 60 to 70% of just timing. You can see how much perfect hits you get at the end of each level. Now I'm hitting 80, 85 pretty consistently. So part of that is I'm not creating new combos most of the time. You could buy new combos to use. I feel like I don't have to buy new combos. The ones that I'm using are working. Some allow you to get a higher score.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. So
You're just sticking with what works.
Yeah, I'm sticking with what works. I'm enjoying the combat. So it's and I have 4 combos right now. That's enough for my brain. So most of the time I can use 1 or 2. But if I'm feeling really fun, then I'll use one I haven't used in a while. But remembering all of the different combos seems a lot. I do wonder. I did have the thought, if I were to buy all the combos, could I just button mash and anything would work because there are so many different combos you can use. So I did have that thought. I was like, oh, maybe I should do that and just see what happens and just button mash everything on beat and just see what happens, what kind of random stuff I'll do. Because that's what it seems like what will happen after a while if you buy so many combos. But I prefer to use specific things for specific reasons. So I haven't invested a lot into combos. But it's definitely a possibility. At this point, I feel like since I'm almost halfway to the end, I feel like I should be kind of in a place where the game is what it is, and what I have played I should be able to comment more on, but they keep throwing new stuff at you. Like, I'm still at this point, I'm almost halfway there, and I'm still not figuring out, but they're throwing new stuff at me. So different mechanics I'll have to adjust or amplify or something. And a lot of games I played in 2022, it felt like I've played this game for about 7 hours. I've seen everything.
Yep.
I have not seen everything with this. And it's one of those where I keep playing and I'm like, I might miss something if I don't keep playing this, which I wish every video game was like that. So instead of, the first 5 hours, it's like, yeah, okay, I've experienced everything. So now it's either finishing the story or, just saying I beat the game at this point. So this is not that. This is, I need to play more because I might miss something. I for real might miss something like that's not story related, but could be mechanics and gameplay. So I'm really enjoying that. So I am looking forward to getting to the end of this. So I am not bored with it at all. This has been fantastic so far. Much better than the start. So yeah, if you've bounced off high fire, it that's the thing. It's not even boring at the beginning. Like, it just keeps getting better, which is not something I could say about a lot of games. It's not groundbreaking in any way. It is interesting with the whole BPM stuff. We've seen other games do it, and this does it well. So, but it's not groundbreaking in that way. It's just so interesting, and it keeps getting more interesting. So, this is going to be a game we should talk about at the end of the year. There's no question about it. I'm not going to suggest it's going to be a game of the year kind of game, but this is a game that we should be talking about this whole year. This is a very good game.
Definitely
I can say that
deserves
before I finish it.
recognition.
Absolutely. Say that before I finish it, for sure. All right. Noah, you have been playing a game called Souls of Chronos 2. Not even the first, the second. I didn't even know this game existed. Don't know what it is. So you're looking at the screen as if 2 wasn't there. I saw you write 2.
Oh, did I?
I think you did.
It was an accident, I believe.
It very
You're
well
hoping
could
for a
have been.
second already.
I can talk. Maybe I don't see it too, but like spoilers. I hope there isn't. Actually,
I probably
hope
misread
there.
it then.
I hope there is. But I hope it is 4 times expanded upon than the first one.
All right, yeah, I misread it. I just saw it. I don't know where I got the 2 from. That's what happens.
I mean, I would
sick.
love it too, because this honestly felt like a prequel to a mainline JRPG. Because the way it's talked about and advertised, the way the whole story premise is set up, classic JRPG with action combat. Sweet. We're going to go on this big, grand adventure. We're going to meet a whole unique cast of characters with their own personalities and quirks. None of that. To just summarize the story, because it's not very unique or nothing we've seen. You have your main character, who is Sid, who is a member of a gang, for lack of better words, on an island. And yeah, see, Anthony's like, oh, I've never heard this before. So is on an island, and he wants to dream of going to this capital that's far away from the island. He's got big dreams. He has a long lost brother that left him earlier in his life, and he wants to reunite with him. So classic reunite, travel on a big journey storyline. And that intro gets dumped on you in about the first 5 minutes of the game. A lot of exposition really quick. It is nice that they give you like lore entries for each character, so you can get a background about each character you meet. But it doesn't do a good job of introducing the characters to us. It's just kind of like, hey, there's this character, and then it moves on. Your companion for this story is a Chronos, which is the only reason I think the title is Souls of Chronos, is Tori, and they're kind of like companions for you, but they're much better fighting power level wise, and that's your main companion, and it kind of works like Atreus with God of War, where they help you in battle, but they kind of do their own thing. You can press a button and it does a specific attack where you actually will swap places with Tori, and you will use her to attack. And she has some pretty strong abilities, if you want to call them that. But yeah, it starts off and you're like, okay, cool, really unique. You know, the classic JRPG setting. Let's go reunite with the brother. And then right after the 30-minute intro, it turns into a like gang rivalry murder mystery storyline out of nowhere. And that's where the center of it is. You never really leave this island, which is kind of a letdown for me. It wasn't a bad storyline. It's nothing that doesn't do anything new. There are plot twists and plot holes, character twists that you see coming really easily. But yeah, it just not bad, just unsatisfying. Because it's visual novel style. The way you interact with characters, there's no voice acting. It's just dialogue, dialogue, dialogue. So if you hate reading, do not play this game. Which leads me to, if you like action combat games, do not play this game. It is about 60% visual novel dialogue reading with like fetch quests where you're just running around grabbing stuff for different people. The dungeon crawling action combat aspects of it felt just bland, almost like the same level as a mobile game. Because you had a couple different weapons. You had a gun. It was kind of almost like a hack and slash is the best way, like a top-down hack and slash. The gun and the sword felt the exact same. So you had a nail gun. There was like one weapon. You can get more as you go along, but I didn't feel a need to. They both felt the same and felt pretty bland. You can kind of I held W. I Unga Boonga held W the entire game. Didn't have any issues. So it wasn't, there's no complexity in the combat. There were a couple of enemies that I did appreciate that could stun lock you and, take you from full health to 0, which I did appreciate. But when there's 8 different enemies and 2 of them do that and you know which 2 to avoid, it's kind of easy. The skill tree, there's a little bit of an upgrade with Tori, who has her own special skills. She's got 2 different combat styles, which at first glance I was like, okay, cool. She has one that is a much more attack oriented, which I preferred. The whole W kind of thing. And then you could also change her combat style to be more supportive, where she would actually heal Sid, who you mainly play as well, which I at first liked, because I was like, okay, cool, I can swap back. Players can choose their own style, you know, equip whichever one they need in whichever situation. But then, like a third of the way into the game, which is not a very long game, I got a accessory, JRPG standard accessories that allowed me to lifesteal. So the support combat style was useless at that point because I can just lifesteal and kill steal. So I just from then on used the very heavy crit oriented combat style. But yeah, dungeons, it's just very straightforward, very linear, just one path. Felt just unsatisfying because I think the standard for RPGs now, especially like indie themed, ones where they're not these big $60 Tales of Arise, but just like your regular 20 to 30, which I think this one's $20. I think just the bar has been set so high, it just doesn't compete, in my opinion. But yeah, it just, and I don't want to even talk about the ending because spoiler free, the game just kind of ends. I was checking the trophies because you have these different dialogue options that kind of like Mass Effect, where you have one that's like the hot-headed remark or the cool-headed, and the game tells you, hey, if you level these up with these certain responses, it impacts the ending of the game. I don't know if there's like a post game. I haven't explored enough or went back to see if I need to do something different to get those different endings, because there are trophies for different endings. But you get to the main ending of the game and it tells you, hey, you're about to get to the ending. Depending on the choices you make separate save files. And you're like, okay, cool. This is where, it gave me two options. One, you don't fight an end boss. The second, you do fight an end boss. And then the game just credits, thanks for playing, both times. I didn't get any ending trophies at all. I'm probably doing something wrong, but I don't know what I need to do to trigger the 3 different other endings to get the trophies.
Time to hit the walkthrough, bruh.
Something like it literally gives me the credits. Hey, thanks for playing. And I was like, that's 12 hours. That's there has to be more. So it does a lot of things okay, like passable. Character design, the world design's great.
I was gonna say, it looks really pretty.
Very pretty. Good character design. It's just when, it's hard to get attached to a lot of characters when there's no voice acting. Like just some. Give me some. It makes it just much more immersive. Yeah, okay is the way I felt playing the game. I just wish, that's why I hope for a sequel, because if they can take this basis and like actually have our main character go to the capital to reunite with his brother, which has been, from the first 5 minutes, that's what you're telling me he wants to do. And he never even does. So if they get a sequel, I think there's a lot of potential. I feel like it could be really good, but this ain't it, Chief.
How'd you find it?
I saw a trailer for upcoming like indies. And I do love me, because it advertises like classic JRPG with action combat. And I saw the trailer. I was like, okay, cool.
I saw that trailer and instantly knew that was not classic or JRPG. I was like, oh God, no, that's. Nope.
I was with like the different, like I was thinking party system, because the main screen, it shows a bunch of different like unique characters. I was like, oh, we're about to get the band back together, get the party. We're going to go to the capital. And I was like, the little chibi art style that you do with the dungeons, I could get behind, because I was like, maybe there's dungeon crawling and stuff, but no, it's just different floors. There's only 3 chapters to the game. It's not a very long game, and I was hoping.
Hours.
Yep, 12 hours. That's about what I did. I was like, maybe each dungeon that you go through will change up the style, some kind of mechanic, but it was copy and paste for the most part. Um, it sounds like I'm ragging on it a lot. It's not meant to be negative. It's just I see potential, and there's just a lot that they need to touch up if they move forward.
Man, it is what it is. If it's bad, it's bad. And
Just for Souls of Chronos, it's in the title. You meet Tori, who's your partner, your companion. She's a Chronos. You don't meet any others until the end of the game.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's like I said, it's like I'm playing the prequel to the main Souls of Chronos. So,
to me, when it comes to the dialogue stuff that you talk about, I've been playing JRPGs since I was before 10. And I feel like there are plenty of times I have connected with characters without tech or, voice acting. So I wonder if it's more of the way they've written these characters, the types of dialogue that they have. Do they invite you in to really get to know these characters and get a connection with them? Because I feel like the games that don't have voice acting do that very well.
yeah, and I totally understand. You can connect without, but for me, if I just give me like one or two lines, that way when I am reading the dialogue, I can put a voice with the dialogue, and for me, it makes a much deeper connection with the character. But yeah, it's still it wouldn't have saved them by any means. You didn't have enough time. Like I said, this is a 12-hour game, with that being your dungeon crawling, the action combat. So it's not like, it's mostly like, hey, go fetch me this, I need this, and you're running, back and forth, back and forth. The writing isn't the worst, in my opinion. It was pretty sure it's a visual or a technical glitch. I did have a couple of times where it was more than a couple. The same dialogue box, the text would replay after I've already talked to them. They would say the same thing
in other games before. Yeah.
So the main two characters were actually pretty likable, and you could kind of get behind them, but you spent the most time with them. These other characters, you only see them a handful of scenes at a time. And so,
and they don't make a big enough splash for you to be like, oh, hey, yeah, glad you're back.
Yeah, nothing. Like, they're, big important scenes happen, and it's just like, I wish I could feel for you, but I can't. So, but like I said, there is potential. They can expand and actually put Sid, the main character, on his, the adventure that they told me at the start of the game he wanted to go on. If they can do that, give me a party, let me grow with these characters. I think you could do something pretty great, but hopefully the sequel gets that. It is a $20 game. So for $20, I think it's a fun weekend play, but that's about it.
One of those you get what you pay for kind of games. Sounds like.
Yeah. And I think if you know going into it that it's not going to, blow you out of the water or anything like that, I think you could probably enjoy it a lot more. I was setting really high expectations after the first 5 minutes. I was like, sweet, big adventure. We stayed in one town, so.
Yeah. I feel like if you're going into it not expecting it to blow your socks off, go play something else. Maybe not blow your socks off, but
yeah, very true.
If it's not going to be acceptable, you might as well just go play something else. But this doesn't sound like unacceptable.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just unsatisfying. Like,
that's fair.
or it doesn't reach its potential that I feel it could, and that makes it almost is more painful than when you're playing a bad game, you know, because you're like, this has so much
Mm.
good that it could be, but there's just some playtesting and more. I don't know what the resource allocation or you know how big of a studio it was that made this. Um,
There's
I just
Astrolabes or something like that, which I've heard of them before.
yeah, like I see the potential and I want them to exceed that. So
Well, Noah spent 12 hours with that. David,
yep.
you spent 1 hour with your PSVR2 so far, which only tells me you have been busy because you've been eagerly anticipating the moment you not only uh, saw that it was shipping, but that you got it, and then you got it, and then you only got an hour with it. So I know you're itching for more, but what has your first experience been like?
So one of the first things you notice is there's not a lot in the box, at least compared to the PSVR one. Because when you open the PSVR one, you pulled out like 15 cables, a breakaway box, you know, all these other different random things. You had to go find your Move controller charger and all that kind of stuff, and your set up your camera and whatnot. No, you open this thing up, the headset's there with a long cable and your controllers, and that's it. Beyond the controller charge cable, that's literally it. Uh, Here's something that I have to say right off the bat for anybody who is not buying this because oh it's wired. I can't do anything that's not wireless. It's not a problem. It's one wire. It's not a very heavy wire. It's actually a very good length of wire. It did not get in my way at all in my play space with the way that
How
they've got it
many
set up.
wireless headsets exist?
I mean, pretty much the Oculus at this point. So that's what kind of like that's what kind of blows me away is the whole thought of like even if you do run that wireless from your PC, you're not getting the best experience in VR. Like it's guaranteed that you're not getting the best experience in VR because it's not as stable. But it's so much. As soon as you plug that thing in, it runs you through all your different setup things and whatnot, getting everything ready to go. One of the things that it actually does really well is it does the pass through that the Oculus or the Meta Quest does, where you can actually, when you put the headset on, you can see the outside your outside surroundings. And it actually, one of the coolest things it does is it actually scans your room and scans what is obstacles and what is free space and kind of creates a space for you based on what you have looked at. So the camera actually does and the setup does a lot of the work for you, although you can actually adjust your play space after the fact. And then you can even designate it of this is a space I'm going to be playing in a lot, or you can add it as a temporary space. So I believe it actually will save it on the PlayStation that this is where you're playing. So we're going to keep this space kind of set up for you. That's obviously the more boring part, but it's cool to see how the PlayStation VR has come this far. Just because, as someone who had to move the PSVR 1 out of the way in order to play this, it's such a big difference. Because I plugged one cable in, I was done. Like I had to sync up the new controllers. That's it. The controllers themselves actually are awesome. They feel very sim. They remind me a lot of the Oculus, the Meta Quest controllers. If anybody's held any of those, they're pretty standard VR controllers. The only difference with these is the ring that is around the top instead of like with Oculus, it's up at the top. These actually are around your kind of towards your wrists more when you're holding them, so your hands pass through them. Very comfortable to hold. Buttons are very intuitive as to where they are. And of course, the coolest thing is that they've made these with some of the ideas from the DualSense. So they have adaptive triggers and they have haptic feedback. so that you really get that great feel. Thank God we're not using Move controllers anymore. Those stupid ice cream cones. I'm glad they are dead. Like, they did what they needed to do, but they really should not have continued forward with PlayStation VR. It just did not. It created an extra problem because the camera was having to track it. The camera was having to track you. All the tracking ended up just being a nightmare because you turn around and your camera misses the lights that are on the outside of the VR or the lights on the controllers, and you're just done. These full range of motion, you're captured no matter what because the system itself is tracking all the different movements you're making. Down to the point of I only, like I said, played an hour. I got to play Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's down to it actually could sense how I was holding my hands on the controller. So holding the controllers in my palm, if I had my hands clutched like this, that was how they were clutched in the game. But if I would take all my fingers off, it would open my palms completely. And that's not with pressing buttons. Like, I was not actually pressing down on the triggers or anything, but I could actually tell when I'd put my finger on the trigger, it would clasp everything. And then when I'd take it off, it would. So the hand tracking is actually really good on it as well. What's kind of crazy, and I can't speak for every game since a lot of these are ports from the PlayStation VR 1, is with Horizon, everything you see inside that is so pretty. Like, VR has not been something that anybody's gone into and been like, oh my goodness, the attention to detail in this beyond maybe Half-Life Alyx. And it's because VR is very system intensive. Like, your computer's putting in a lot of work to render everything, so most things are not going to look as good because it's having to put in all that work. That is not an issue with PlayStation VR 2. The character models were almost as good as the character models in Horizon Forbidden West, and that might be one of the best looking games for next gen that's out there. The environments are just astounding, the level of detail. One of the coolest things, and I guess I can kind of lead into eye tracking. I'm gonna end up all over the place with this, but when you look away, like let's say that there is like a barrel over here on the right, and there's a barrel on my left. If I look at the barrel on the right, because of the technology they put into place, the barrel on my left will actually defocus. So all of the attention that I'm placing on that is where they're putting the tech to actually make sure that's the high resolution object. Now, the way that they're doing that is they're eye tracking inside that headset. One of the craziest things I have ever done, and this is, again, silly thing, it's kind of like looting in Atomic Heart. Like, this should not be so exciting, but it's exciting. I navigated a menu with my eyes. Like, literally, once again, I know it's silly, it's hilarious, but when you like look next gen,
just clicked on stuff with my eyes.
10 out of 10.
Which they haven't, there's no, like, funny enough, there wasn't any clicking on things, but the fact that though, like the fact that though, like, that you can look at like the little bars, obviously, of like options, start, all that, but you straight up just look at it and like you actually see like your eyes as it scrolls across everything, like the cursor essentially. Like, that's just something you don't think about. And when you hear about it, you're like, okay, I'm sure that's possible, whatever they're talking about, but you don't think it'll work so seamlessly is really, I guess, the main thing. You think of eye tracking and you don't think that there's no way that's seamless. No, it's that seamless. with how it works. So it's silly,
When I
but it's
blinked,
cool.
I could choose the graphics option.
I'm sure I'm sure it'll eventually get to that. Apparently there is it might be the new Dark Pictures game, the I don't know if that's what it's actually called, if it's still Dark Pictures is what they call it, or
Dark
if
Pictures
it's,
Anthology or something like that.
but they did the previous game on the PlayStation VR. But I think this one is more creepy in that they use the eye tracking to, if you blink, stuff comes closer to you. Like, I'm like, oh, bro, I'm gonna be like this like the whole time.
He's a Clockwork Orange himself, bro. Like,
Exactly. I mean, like,
everything.
like,
Get the
like,
eye drops ready before you play it.
what I am super glad that Richard Allen here has a PlayStation VR2, because he's like our resident horror person when it comes to games, really. And it's like, bro, these are all you. Because I'm not touching anything. I am not a horror person at all. I'm not touching it in VR.
They should make
But
a Half-Life head crab simulator.
yeah,
Every time you
exactly.
blink,
I mean,
it's
that's
just-
Alex. But
for horror.
yeah, exactly. But the coolest thing is just everything is so crisp and clear. The PlayStation VR2, there's no screen door effect. I don't know if either of you've really done a lot of VR, but there's that those lines that appear when it's just that you just get when you're using a VR that's not as powerful. It's just, you can't help it with the way that everything's designed. This is really crystal clear. Everything you're seeing, it's like, man, I'm here. Of course, Horizon, the coolest thing was there's robot dinosaurs running around me, and like I'm getting to look at them like I'm here. And of course, they do right off the bat. You get the tall neck walking through the forest, and get the scale of looking up as this thing like just towers over. One of the things that made it even more immersive was the haptics, of course, are triggering because it's rumbling as this thing walks past, but they've also got haptics on the headset itself. So you kind of felt a little bit of it on your face. So
Feel
it's
your
almost like
face
you
melting.
felt it is. What was funny
Feel
was
the
apparently
future.
the kayak, the kayaking game that they've got, it's more of this chill experience. Apparently, if you can bump your head on things and you feel that feedback through the headset.
So
So
they
it's
like
just,
hit you in the face.
yeah, like, yeah, you got to duck or else,
Oh, wait.
So it's these little things of, yeah, that isn't like this super mind-blowing thing or whatnot, but they're finding these ways to add to immersion that are just cool ways to do it. That especially
when you
that you
talk about
don't
that,
have happening other places.
yeah, when you talk about, like, I'm not VR, I don't care, but when you talk about that tall neck walking by and then you could look up and it's like, oh, that actually sounds really cool.
It's something to watch. It really is. And the once you get past, of course, a lot of these things, you get to the point where you pick up a bow and you start using it, and of course you feel the tension in the arrow as you pull back because of the haptic feedback, and everything felt really good with the controllers. Like every time I would reach back, pull out another arrow and stuff, it felt natural, and that's what you want. You don't want a lot of previous VR. It felt very unnatural, or it felt like, oh, I just mimic this motion, it'll work. Like the Wiimote, you could bowl really really hard, just you get that flick down. That this isn't there as much as it is in those. You're needing those more natural movements, and the thing is, you couldn't do that with the Move, because putting the thing behind your back, your camera couldn't track it anymore. So that just was not possible. And it's nice to see, whereas the PlayStation VR1 was this amalgamation of ideas of, we want to do this, but we have to work with what we have. it's nice to see PlayStation VR2 be more this, okay, we know what worked, we know what didn't. Let's take that and let's build this into something even better. And it's nice to see the steps that they've taken. Sure, would a completely wireless experience be fantastic? Yes. But we're not to that point, especially with wireless technology, to give players the full best experience that they can have. And this headset, for the price that you're able to do everything at, our editor in chief, Ron Burke, he did our review for it. He loves it. He thinks that it's the best VR headset just about you can buy. He said that he has $1,300 headset, a $1,300 VR headset, and this thing outdoes it, in his opinion. Like, I don't know that it necessarily outdoes it by a lot, but here's the thing: that headset costs more than a PlayStation 5 and a VR headset. And he's having to use the $1,300 headset with a PC that is very expensive to get the most out of it. As expensive as PlayStation VR2 is at $550 and a PlayStation at $500, it is still much cheaper overall than try for something that is top of the line than going out and trying to find something cheaper. Yes, you can get an Oculus a Meta Quest for $400. It's not going to give you the same kind of experience that PlayStation VR2 does. And the only thing that PlayStation VR2 really has to do is they've just got to keep knocking out the park these experiences. We got to start seeing these horizons be regular. These kind of games need to be coming through every year, which they have bought some studios, so I think that'll help them. But I mean, especially adding on experiences like Insomniac, they've built VR games. Let them do something with Spider-Man 2, man. Let me swing through the streets. There've already been some Spider-Man experiences you can do in PlayStation VR 1 that weren't developed by a main developer. Let's let Insomniac stick a team on that. That's really, in my opinion, that's all this thing needs. You get some more big games to it, and it's gonna fly off the shelves, because as soon as people try it, they're going to want it. That's VR in general. Unless you try it, you don't want to spend money on it. You can't give me enough game trailers or talk to me word of mouth as much about like why I should have this. I've got to try. VR is a show me item. So, but it's honestly, I mean, just an hour in, I'm blown away with just how it's not reinventing how you play VR, but it's doing it better than any other VR does it.
Well, I think something that's very important that I haven't heard anybody talk about is the fact that, at least this thing looks much better than the PlayStation 5. It's very important.
And also something I didn't say, it's very light. Not heavy on your head at all. Like it's very
maybe
comfortable
because
to wear.
It's white, but it looks light.
Yeah, it's like it's.
I don't know why
it's
I
very
would get
easy.
that, but yeah.
Yeah, and they kept addressing. I keep saying they keep addressing things that didn't work as well with the one, but like they have an accordion design for the rubber that surrounds your face, so that way, depending on the size of your face, it pushes more in and blocks out more light. So other VR headsets where I've put it on and still been able to see underneath, did not have that happen when I put on the PSVR 1, and it fits my glasses perfectly. So I don't even have to switch those out unless I want to.
You have a face fit for PlayStation.
Yep. But
there we go.
Yeah, right. It's great.
PSVR 2. All right. News? What we got?
News. We will try to go through this quickly since it is late and we have been talking for a while, but we've been talking about good gaming stuff, So the one time you will hear us, at least on this podcast, talk about Hogwarts Legacy is that it's made a bunch of money. They have reported
Sold a bunch of copies.
They have reported
A
that they have
lot.
earned $850 million in global sales, and they moved more than 12 million units in its first 2 weeks. That is, I want to say it's dumbfounding, but I'm not surprised because the IP is so big and people have wanted. It's kind of like how everybody's like, I want a Pokemon RP. I want a Pokemon like open world RPG. This is people with Harry Potter. I want an open world RPG. They finally got one. Of course, everybody's buying the heck out of it.
And it's
Like,
good.
yes, it's a good game. It is meeting everybody. Ron Burke reviewed it for us. He's a huge Harry Potter fan and he loves it. He thought he said one of the things he told me, he's like, I'm giggling every time I do something new in this game because it hits all of those things for him. And it's ridiculous. It actually set a Twitch record for single player games with 1.28 million people watching it.
A lot of reasons for that, but yes.
Yeah. You had all those people watch. They had all those people watching on Twitch. It had almost 900,000 people playing concurrently on Steam. Like the thing broke records, and it's all you got to do is you got to get the right company behind it and the right IP. Like that's really what it boils down to, and you're gonna like that. It's again, it's that IP. That IP is such a big IP, and you haven't. It's kind of like how Spider-Man sold so ridiculously only on PlayStation 4 and set records. Why? Because people wanted a new Spider-Man game for a very long time, and it was a really good Spider-Man game. This is what happened with Harry Potter, and what's even more impressive, they did it without last gen. They did it without the Switch. Like this is only on PS5 and on Xbox Series consoles and on PC. And that's it. Like as impressive as Elden Ring is, and I do not take away anything in saying this, like 12 million in 2 weeks. Elden
I,
Ring at least had the benefit of 150 million console base install base that they at least could get extra
mhm.
from. This didn't have that.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, a lot of it kind of gets boiled down to people. If you make a good single player, a dedicated single player game with no microtransactions involved or no advertising just a single player experience, and it's good, people will buy it and
Yep.
flock to it.
Yeah.
It's we talked about it earlier. This is you know it's just going to continue to sell well.
Yep.
Like Cyberpunk had big numbers, but it dropped off once word of mouth got around. um Word of mouth is getting around about this game, and it's just going to continue to sell well. So I'm curious to see where like the end of year numbers for it actually end up being.
It's going to
It's
be
gonna be
stupid because
pretty
last gen is
impressive.
going to hit this year. It's going to sell buttload on Switch.
Mhm.
Well, so for some perspective, Elden Ring sold about 13 million in the first month. Smash Brothers Ultimate sold about 5 million in the first 2 weeks. However, it's still a far cry off of what Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did, which was 10 million in 3 days. So
Not much is Nintendo. Like
yeah,
Nintendo numbers are in their own category.
yeah. So that's not to take anything away from that. 12
Oh yeah.
million in 2 weeks is still bonkers.
Yeah.
But
Crazy numbers.
yeah, that's
Yeah, the only thing that's really that there are two games that are close. Fallout 4 had, and I this blows my mind. Fallout 4 sold 12 million copies in the first day, the first 24 hours.
the first
I'm not
day.
Sheesh.
kidding. That yeah, Fallout 4 12 million copies in the first day. And then Cyberpunk had
remember that.
13
Holy
million
crap.
after 10 days. I remember
feel
that
sorry
launch.
for all
That
of
launch
them.
was nut. That launch was nuts, right, Noah?
Yeah.
That's an understatement. Because Fallout fans are dedicated. Yeah, they were carnivorous.
Oh my
We were
God,
throwing like
12
Slim
million in
Jims out to
one day.
distract them while we could hand the games out to people. It was
Jeez. Okay. I thought 10 million in 3 days was an anomaly. 14 million in one, or 12 million in one. That's nuts.
Yep. And
Oh my
Cyberpunk
goodness.
actually still has I think it has the single player, and I say only single player. That Elden Ring doesn't count in this, but I think it has the single player Steam record of it's over a million concurrent.
I think that's right. Yeah. Because I remember it was chart topping, approaching CSGO numbers for a while.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, it's incredible that just that kind of a number in an age where subscription services are becoming such a big thing.
yeah.
Those kind of numbers that you
Yeah,
get.
but it's
those
not
kind of
on a
numbers.
subscription service. I think
Yeah.
if it were on Game Pass and it got
Oh,
that,
yeah.
then
It would.
then,
It would.
then we can make that statement.
But even the people though that have been conditioned to wait for something to be on a subscription service, this game was big enough to, and I'm not saying for everybody, but people are like, oh, I got to get this no matter what. I'm not waiting.
I don't know if that's the Harry Potter audience though. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like
When I
there are
get that, because I'm
probably a
sure it
lot
sold
of
way more on
people-
PlayStation.
Sure. But I feel like there are a lot of people who don't play either a lot of video games or they just don't play that much at all. And they saw a Harry Potter game, one that was getting a lot of publicity, and word of mouth was saying, yeah, this ish is good. So they got it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're enjoying it, but they got it. And, we see where we go from there. But I imagine that was a good chunk of that audience, like that just doesn't, you're not going to see them playing Street Fighter 6 or
Yeah.
even Fallout, something like
more casual players.
ish. Yeah, casual ish. Yeah.
Which an interesting thing, and I don't remember where I read it or what specifically, but apparently in Europe it actually broke some of Elden Ring's numbers in terms of sales, which makes complete sense in like UK and such, because Harry Potter's humongous over there, and
He's got a British accent in the movies, doesn't he?
exactly,
like-
yeah, that's where it all
like,
takes
yeah.
place. So,
Yeah.
but the like PlayStation also, one of the things that was brought up when I was talking with some friends is PlayStation. They have some really stupid numbers of this is how many PlayStations we want to sell over this quarter, and we're like, nah, you're not even getting anywhere close to that. And suddenly PlayStation started shipping a bunch of consoles to Europe. And everybody was like, hold up, why they dominate over there? Yeah, but how's that going to help? Hogwarts Legacy, baby. Because that thing, I guarantee you, has been a system seller for PlayStation over there, because you can't buy it for anything else.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just no, I've always been a big fan of looking at sales numbers and stuff like that. So seeing these correlations and seeing businesses play very smart. Want to know why PlayStation's a market leader? Because they know exactly where to maneuver their consoles and
Yeah.
when to do certain things. It's like, yeah, they just broke records in the US for PlayStation sales and all that kind of stuff.
Also
They knew
remember,
exactly
like,
when to deviate.
yeah, also remember that's their business strategy. Like they have
Yep.
to sell consoles. Like Xbox not
Oh yeah.
as weird. Nintendo's along with that too. Where they have to sell consoles. But
It's
they can rely
nice
on
when
their
you
first party
see
IPs.
it's nice when you see companies that are playing smart though.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
like,
super smart.
it's like
ahead.
instead of like, oh, where do we send consoles this quarter?
I'm
Yeah.
We
pretty
just
sure
launched-
They don't
we
have
just
that
launched-
problem.
We just launched Final Fantasy. Let's send a bunch of consoles to Brazil. It might be great in Brazil, but good lord, send it to Japan.
Right. Yeah,
It is bigger there.
Pretty sure they don't have that problem.
Exactly.
I think just seeing it like that, it's like, oh snaps, like this is how
Yep.
they operate. Absolutely.
Yep.
They see the system sellers, put them out there. But specifically, as you mentioned, sending them, making sure they got to Europe and the UK. Like, how many do we send to the 10? Send 10 to the US and send 10
all of the
million
rest.
to-
All of the rest. So how many can you make?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the craziest thing, is just thinking, man, it's not just that game sold this many units, it's how many consoles
Yeah.
did this game sell? Not just
yeah.
PlayStations, Xboxes too, because it sold on both.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. It definitely sold for both consoles, but definitely PlayStation. Because according to Microsoft's little PowerPoint chart or whatever, they have an 80% market share. Sony does in Europe and
I love how
and UK,
Nintendo's
so.
not on it at all. Like, it's just like, no, Nintendo doesn't exist.
Zero market share. But,
Nintendo has zero market share in every area.
Right, yeah.
Every
It's a
area.
it's a
Only
it's a
Japan.
niche. It's a niche. It's a niche.
Multi-billion-dollar company. They're niche.
Yep. Well, somewhere Sony did have the market share was today in the market share of the mind, because PlayStation dropped their state of play today, and we're going to talk about the stuff, but I'll say it this way. This is the definition of this could have been an email of the state of play. Like, and I don't mean that in the
newsletter.
meanest way. As someone who has been like, I'm tired of seeing PlayStation blog posts for things I want to see. This could have been a blog
This
post.
should have been
Like,
an email.
it could have been a blog post. Like, I don't mean it. I mean, this feels like it was like all of our partners are hounding us on showing things off, and is like, crap, I guess we might as well just put this together as one big show and knock it out all at once.
This should have been a Twitter thread. Like,
Yeah,
just thread
like-
all the videos.
and
you
and
know?
that's not detriment of the items on the list, because there are some good things. It's just there was enough things of just, oh, okay, that exists. And I was hoping, especially when you're going for 45 minutes, that you might have something bigger than Suicide Squad, because there's nothing in here that's bigger in terms of the market share of the mind than Suicide Squad.
Well, that's why they gave it 15 minutes.
Yeah. And Suicide Squad did get a extended gameplay trailer, which we'll start on that. I mean, I got to see a little bit of it. I was a bit busy in the middle of some work. I think I know what Suicide Squad is from this. I feel the same way about Suicide Squad as I do about Redfall, in the sense of it feels like these trailers are getting cut like the heck out of them. Of, let's just show these 10-second clips of things happening, then let's move to somebody talking, then let's move back to the 10-second, 15-second clip, then let's move back again, and I feel like we're not getting full ideas of what the game is, and it's these TikToks. We're getting TikToks to get us interested.
Yeah.
A bunch
like
of
those-
TikToks in a row. Like, when I hear 15 minutes of gameplay, I don't think I'm going to get
uninterrupted.
2 7-minute videos, both of which are as cut as you could possibly make something. I'm thinking that I always go back to it, that the first Division gameplay trailer we ever saw,
Easy as it was,
with those
you saw all
cheesy
of it.
people chatting together. I knew what the Division was after that.
Hey, Dave.
I-
know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the people talking on drop in, drop out, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Like, at least I knew what it was, though. I still, like, I have a bare bones grasp of what Suicide Squad is. Like, apparently there's somewhat of an open world and stuff. I have no idea what that looks like. I just know what specific parts of that level look like for 10 seconds. I don't know how any of these characters specifically feel, because I've not seen them in motion longer than 10 to 15 seconds to be able to gauge how it's going to feel. Like I can pick up enough in just okay, this is how Gotham Knights plays, this is how Arkham Knight played, and guess. I can at least make educated guesses, but I don't think you can let people. I don't think if you want to sell a game, you need to let people make educated guesses about your game. That's just my opinion. You can't just make people like
Letting
and
us
Suis
assume
letting
is
us
not
assume,
a
yeah.
great business
Yeah.
strategy.
Not to mention you can do that with something that's a humongous like Spider-Man 2, you can jump cut the crap out of that thing and people go by. Why? Because the first Spider-Man game was amazing and Miles Morales was amazing. This is the first Suicide Squad game. We have no idea exactly what it is beyond a guess. And it's not a big enough property like Spider-Man that it will just sell based on the name.
Hmm.
That's my opinion, at least. But Suicide Squad is
Yeah.
not this national brand that everybody's like, "Oh, let's buy."
Like, well, like you talk about, like what you know, I'd be okay with like a super highly edited, gameplay if that was like your gameplay reveal, like a 3 minute game. But this was supposed to be an extended look, like you know what is kind of a lot of action movies shifted to. They're no longer this like the good ones, I should say. They're not these like chopped up, edited. You don't really know or see what's going on or see them fighting. It's these long choreographed single cut scenes, and I think that's what we really needed, especially if
Yeah.
you're going to do co-op. Like the full gameplay is what I would have loved to see. I still enjoyed it. I still think it'll be pretty good, but I want unedited, like full, you know, because like you said, we didn't get to really see their abilities and see how they're unique from each other. We just got them shooting guns in the air
We
for a
we
lot
got
of
a
it.
lot of exposition on why
Yeah.
they're different, but I want to see it.
Hmm.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I want to be sold. I put in the Discord while it was going on. I was like, I'm always wary of these trailers that do these like, cuts everywhere, these hard cuts,
You're either
and,
trying too hard or you're hiding something. Like,
and
that's what I'm afraid of.
exactly what I'm thinking. I'm like, you're hiding something. And I do get part of the cuts where they were cutting to what was happening with other co-op players, but it still wasn't still wasn't telling me this is how this works. This is what this looks like. It was, oh, we're having a dead moment with Harley Quinn. Let's cut to the shark guy, and
Yeah.
he's done shooting that thing. Okay, this person's doing that action. We don't want to bore. It's like,
Yep.
well, this is what I saw in with you with Forspoken. It was the exact problem. Every trailer, every single one of them, all the action stuff only cut, 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 action. In the middle of a fight, they'll cut to a different like moment within the
Yeah.
same
Scene.
fight in that trailer. Yeah, or in some of those trailers.
At
And
least they released just a flat gameplay trailer though. Like we haven't even got that out of Suicide Squad.
I know, but that was much later, right? So
Yeah. And it didn't look great, so it kind of founded some of the fears.
right. So with
I
this,
mean,
I think this will be better than Forspoken, but I don't think there's gonna be I won't say there's not enough meat. I don't think the systems will be as compelling as they're gonna make it sound like it will be.
Well,
That's
you
my
got to save
concern.
something for the battle pass.
Well, I don't even think it's a yeah. I don't
And
think it's
future content.
I don't know if it's that issue more than just I don't know if the mechanics are going to be that compelling. And
Yeah.
so they're hiding that.
which I have high hopes because I really want to enjoy uh this game, and I think for the most part it'll be fine and stuff. I like the studio. I like the what the little that we've seen. If they're not hiding the bad, I'm trying to be optimistic. If they're not hiding the bad, I think it'll be fun and it'll be a fun experience. Um, you know, what what are they hiding? I want to know. This is live service, right? Battle Pass, adding on content. I need if the combat is fun and enjoyable, I need to know, which I haven't seen any info on. What is my reason to keep playing? You want me this to be a live service game? What is my end game? You know, am I going to get max level and then just never touch it again? Like I need to know more about the continuation and the end game.
Yep.
Well, I think about Borderlands 3 when they announced that. That was a big deal. You knew it was a Borderlands game. You knew it was going to be that. But this was the first modern Borderlands. It had been so long between Borderlands 2 and 3. So it was like when they finally showed everything, it was like, oh, okay, I get a sense of what this will look like. For Rocksteady, we, like you said, David, can make assumptions based on Arkham Knight and all the Arkham games in general. But this is the first game that's not Batman. We're shooting, we're doing this. So we saw some of that, but what is Rocksteady's spin on this kind of game? Because we know what a Rocksteady brawler looks like. We don't know what a Rocksteady third-person shooter-ish thing looks like. And to come away with, we see shooting, we see flying, there's daylight and night cycles, cool. What are we doing? Cutscenes look great. What? Okay. There's action. Tell me something I wasn't prepared for. Like, of course there's going to be action. How does this all come together? They're not telling a story here. They're not giving us anything to work with. So I could see people being excited on the idea of being sold like, oh, like this is you. This could be you. Look at you shooting everything. Yeah, action everywhere. But obviously, when you come down to it, there's going to be those down moments. There's going to be moments where you have to be in the menus, choosing things, trying to figure out your gadgets, guns, whatever. Is there going to be loot? What's I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
what's all
loot.
this stuff?
Did you see the pictures? All the numbered gear.
I did not. That part I missed.
Oh yes.
We
Okay,
need
so
an
there's loot.
extended gameplay. Like, look into this game. Like,
So, okay, minus the loot part. We know that's there, but what does this look like?
Yep.
So,
It just felt like we got a lot of exposition, and that was a lot of it.
it was a highlight reel.
We didn't need much. We didn't need more exposition. We needed just give me 5 minutes of gameplay and 10-minute trailer of just the exposition part. You could do all your exposition. Just give me 5 minutes of uncut. This is Suicide Squad.
Yeah, a lot of
little look
trailers
at the
have
UI.
done that.
I don't get how we got 2 7-minute trailers of exposition.
Yeah, I've seen that in the past where they'll start with just some gameplay and then end with like the exposition cut, and sometimes it's longer. But
the first we saw of Days Gone, it was a very long gameplay trailer with him running away from zombie horde. The very first trailer. The very first trailer. There was not any other announcement. That was how it was announced. That was how God of War, the reboot, was announced. It was an incredible gameplay trailer. I get that the vertical slices, they take time to build, but more game companies got to put their best foot forward.
Do we need to have everyone go back to strictly, no variation? Give us the E3 walk everywhere, where you walk just slowly through and pan out, that way we can at least see what the game's going to be without, these quick cuts, like.
Yep. Oh well.
The E3 walk.
I wish they would have, like, in the middle of those cuts
but it's
just
a
squeezed
classic.
in like some elevator music with just a moment where they do the like slow walk.
The slow,
yeah,
bro,
yeah.
nobody walks this slow in a game. Like, please.
Yeah, I know. Nobody tilts their controller that little, so
Yeah.
Well, we certainly had a lot more opinions on Suicide Squad than I thought we did.
I
This
feel
something else that you may have more thoughts on, Anthony, is Capcom revealing 3 new Street Fighter characters, which not necessarily new, but new to Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I love the brand new girl character. I didn't catch her name. I was also working at the time, but I was catching her
Lily.
moveset and stuff, and she's the most unique Street Fighter character ever, in my opinion. And I think the stylization of her and the like her move set is unlike anything we've seen, and yet it fits somehow. It looks like a character that could be in Tekken almost, with the way some of the attacks work. Not necessarily the stringiness of her arms, but some of the other special moves. Almost a Smash like character in some ways. Um, so I'm really looking forward to seeing her. I thought it was weird that they turned Zangief into almost a luchador. That was really awkward. I don't know what the direction was on that and why they decided to do that. He's not all luchador, but he definitely has some luchador elements that deviate from his personality. I don't know. That was a weird decision. So, I mean, Zangief can be Zangief. That's why he's I feel like that contrast of Zangief would work perfectly for Street Fighter 6, where it's, younger crowd, and then you got old man Zangief doing Zangief stuff. And then Cammy. I love Cammy. Cammy's always been one of my favorite characters. She looks like Cammy, so I'm happy about that. I just wonder if she's going to be meta or not. So, most times she's mediocre. Street Fighter 4, she was very good. Street Fighter 5, she's been pretty good. But every Street Fighter before that, not great. So we'll see where she lands. In Street Fighter 6, I'm going to use her regardless. Low tier, high tier. I don't care. I like Cammy. Her moveset's fun to me.
Yeah, I have nothing to say. I'm not a fighting game person.
I'm barely able to press a button in Smash. So was it like 18 fighters is the final roster count. I think that's pretty big. I could be wrong.
Good start.
Yeah.
What I think is really funny is that we saw this Street Fighter 6. We had Tekken 8 with a new trailer this week. And then they just announced Mortal Kombat 12 is coming. There's a chance all 3 of these games could release this year. From what they've said, this Tekken could still end up being in next year, but there's a chance we get Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and Mortal Kombat 12 all in the same year. That's crazy.
MK12, from what I saw, is confirmed for this year, unless obviously delays happen.
Yeah, that's the only thing that can really hurt that is delays.
So I just now saw this. Ed Boon, the infamous Ed Boon, did you see what he tweeted out?
Yep. Did you see what happened with Injustice 3 is what he said, or something like that. He made it into a joke.
Who else heard about Injustice 3?
I'm really sad, though, with that tweet because I love Injustice. Yes. I thought Injustice 2 was one of the, and I'm sure Anthony's probably going to laugh at me under the table under the desk at how bad this take is, but I thought Injustice 2 was one of the best fighting games that has come out. Just it had some really cool ideas with the gear system and whatnot. It's one of my favorites in general. Yeah, adding the gear. The gear system was something I thought was really cool about the second game and how they changed that up.
I played the story and I liked it. I'm not a in depth fight, but I really like the story. Yeah. I was talking with a friend and we were kind of surprised. We're like, wasn't it supposed to be Injustice's turn to come out? But then we're like, Injustice same year coming out with Suicide Squad. I just don't know.
Well, the reason, at least that I heard, and this is just hearsay, don't take it for the truth on the matter, is with all of the different acquisitions from WB and Discovery and all these different mergers and whatnot, is they were concerned that there would be issues with licensing.
That makes
If
sense.
yeah,
That's believable for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
because
like, oh,
obviously it's a whole lot easier to s- convince someone to take the Mortal Kombat license compared to you have to buy onto DC.
Well, yeah, because at that point it was who's gonna own DC.
Yeah, yeah. Not to mention, um, I believe Mortal Kombat, like that they have. I'm pretty sure the studio itself, NetherRealm, may even have the rights, so there may not even be any issues with licensing for Mortal Kombat. So that's at least a rumored reason that I heard about.
that's believable.
So that they pivoted, they were going to do it. There were rumors that they were doing Injustice 3, that they may have been doing something else licensed, but that essentially they pivoted back to Mortal Kombat 12. So it's very interesting. I'm not as big of a fan of Mortal Kombat as I am Injustice, so I am saddened that Injustice 3 isn't coming. But admittedly, at this point, it feels like WB Games is what's keeping the company afloat. So we may get Injustice 3 eventually, because that might be the only way that they can stay in business. Because, man, these licensed properties are paying off right now. I mean, I know Gotham Knights did not score as well, but it sold well. It actually did sell pretty well.
Yeah.
So beyond that, Baldur's Gate 3 launching August 31st, and it looks like it is actually going to be a PlayStation 5 console exclusive. There's been no specific note of its console exclusivity, but if you go to their website and look up what is it coming out on, it says that it's available in early access on PC, and at launch will be available on PC and on PlayStation 5.
All right.
Very,
Exclusives
very,
continue.
very, very interesting. I'm just honestly, I did not expect. I didn't expect a console announcement at all for the game, but to announce it and it only be on one console was a bit of a surprise, at least to me.
Yeah. I'm curious to know how it's gonna sell. I don't think Baldur's Gate like blows the sales charts off. So
It doesn't have the
Hogwarts.
same.
yeah.
It doesn't have the same name, at least, that it used to. Because I know Baldur's Gate back in the day, that was the stuff.
Yeah. I think those days have passed. Obviously,
Um,
it sells well enough.
Something that somehow hasn't passed, Resident Evil 4, because we are getting it remade after a port. And they confirmed
mess
the
looks
return
good.
of Mercenaries mode.
They did, and it
So-
looks good.
The cool thing is there's a special demo of the game on the way, although I wonder if that is going to be exclusive to PlayStation. Because didn't they have wasn't the Resident Evil 2 remake or 3 remake, didn't it have an exclusive demo for PlayStation?
I want to
don't
say
remember.
yes.
I,
But
I,
I'm
I remember
dumb.
having a demo, but I also play a lot of things on my PlayStation, so I
Yeah.
don't remember. I feel like 2 did. 3, I think, was on both, but I think 2 did. Destiny 2 Lightfall launch trailer. We got to see that. That looked pretty cool. I mean, cinematic trailers are always really cool.
Yeah. Just real quick, it's refreshing. I have to commend Bungie because they've heard us. They went from not giving us any info on upcoming seasons until the day of release or the day before. And for Lightfall, they have literally told us everything. With cinematics, blogs, interviews. So it's as a Destiny lover, it's been very nice. So I have to throw kudos to them. So
Anything, Anthony?
No, I'm still playing Hi-Fi Rush.
currently,
We had Sony revealing 5 more games heading to PSVR2, which I'll go back to my previous blog post thing in the sense of what made you must have got some money, because what made these games more important than some of the other games that all we've gotten are blog posts for PS. Like we've honestly, most of PSVR's marketing has been blog posts. I'm uncertain as to why these games got actual like a platform. Not they look cool. I'm just curious at this point as to what made these games specifically. Foglands, some sort of haunted first person shooter. Green Hell VR, I believe that's already on the Quest, but it's now coming. I've heard it's really good. A fast paced FPS called Synapse from In Dreams, who've made some really good games. I'm excited and looking forward to. They've got a sci-fi stealth game that's based on the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. I've never really heard of it, but I hear that it's really really cool. So that sounds interesting at least. And then apparently a game called Before Your Eyes. It's an interactive adventure, and it's about memories where every time you blink, you jump forward in time. I'm really curious as to if they're using eye tracking.
I was like, dude, I'd die in 5 minutes.
I know. I was like, I'm going to be dead because like all the blinking, man. This is a game you can only play for 2 minutes at a time.
Like, dust gets in your eye, dude. You're just
oh no,
flushing. Like you're dead.
I mean, I would assume you're going to find a way to maybe make that be in the game, but you're going to have to make it a very deliberate blink or something. I don't know.
That's the roguelike. You have to see how far you can get,
They're going to throw like flashing images at you, just all kinds of weird stuff.
And it's just to train your eyes to get a little bit stronger each run.
Yeah.
So eventually, you'll have a flare in your face and you don't blink at all.
It becomes exercise for your eyeballs.
Get you in the audio and the eyes.
Bro, I'm gonna be playing Call of Duty, get flashbanged, and I like actually stare through the flash.
I still see everything.
I still see everything. Yeah, it's like jokes on you.
On, dude.
Yeah, those flashbangs in Call of Duty are no joke. Oh man, Tetris Effect developers, they've got a new project called Humanity. We know that Anthony. I have to check this one out since I know he loved Tetris Effect. Yep. So these devs, he's going to have to mess around with this. It's a spirit dog leading hundreds upon hundreds of humans in lemmings-like fashion. And apparently you can create and share levels with others around the globe. And it's going to be on PS5, PS4, PSVR, and PSVR2. So, interesting. I'm sure they will find a way to make it very unique and different than most other things you can play, because I know that they took Tetris and really made it different and unique to play. Yeah. Chia, we got a launch date, March 21st. I'm very excited about that. Had a lot of fun with the preview for that. And it's not only launching on March 21st, it is launching into PlayStation Plus Extra. So if you pay for the extra tier, you will be able to get that on the 21st. Something that I was wanting to bring up is that PlayStation, they are really going heavy on their extra library. Like everybody was always like, why are we paying for this? What's the reason to spend the extra money for extra? And they're starting to give you a really good reasons to go ahead and buy PlayStation Plus Extra. This month, we actually saw Horizon Forbidden West is an extra, The Quarry is an extra, Resident Evil 7, Outriders, Scarlet Nexus, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat. I mean, there's lots of really good games that they have thrown into PlayStation Plus Extra this month. And then next month, they confirmed in a slide for Chia that was showing that it was coming. Not only is Chia coming, but we're getting Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, the PlayStation 5 version, Ghostwire Tokyo, Rainbow Six Extraction, and Immortals Phoenix Rising as well. And that's just part of the list. That's not everything that's coming. So PlayStation is really like
up in their game
for everything that people trash them on when it comes to their subscription service, not having day one games. It might not be day one, but
have games.
There's some good games. There's some really good games that are getting added to this library. And I mean, the library was already pretty good with stuff like Returnal and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and there's some other really great games in there, but man, they just every month it feels like we keep getting some good stuff. All the Yakuza games are in there. Like they're there's really great games that are a part of PlayStation's Extra and Premium. So hopefully they keep this run up because they're doing a really good job with it. And we've even been getting, hopefully they'll keep it up with the PlayStation Classics. They just dropped Legend of Dragoon with the extra trophies and rewind support and save states and all that. Like it's cool to see. It's cool to see PlayStation get in on some of this game preservation as well as adding just some really great titles.
To be fair, when they started the subscription service, it felt like they threw it out there. Like, hey, we're making this thing.
Yep.
So I imagine they had to have some time to finalize contracts and licenses and all that. Now, so now that they've gotten all those things squared away, here is PlayStation Plus Extra.
Again,
so
people forget that Game Pass was not that great when it first launched. People forget that. It took them at least a year to get it really rounded into shape, and guess what? We're getting to a year on the new PlayStation Plus. So it makes sense. Only thing that isn't as good is the PlayStation Plus regular games that we get because, well, actually, no, they're actually good, except for one.
Yeah.
Minecraft Dungeons and Code Vein, I'll take. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
great.
All you need to know. Yep.
But I feel like we're being attacked because they're giving us Battlefield 2042.
Oh,
in your voice just killed me.
Why? Why do you hate me, PlayStation? Why? It's still though like it.
So
it
they've
cracks
made some
me
changes.
up.
I haven't played them yet, but
it's like this is. I might as well be. This is like getting Xbox Live games with gold to give me Battlefield.
Oh, it's not that bad. Goodness gracious!
I'm
Stop
joking.
that.
Nothing is that bad. Because last month was killer for PlayStation Plus. It was Ollie Ollie World, Mafia Definitive Edition, Evil Dead, and the Destiny 2 Beyond Light expansion. Like
PlayStation Plus has always been good.
Yeah, they just really have their subscription service as a whole is starting
now
to
like,
catch up.
PlayStation Plus Extra's taking over, so now they're putting the bad stuff in it, like Battlefield 2042.
Oh well.
Is it worth free? Caught a whiff of something stanky, just like Battlefield.
It just it always makes me think of that meme where they talk about I'm having the worst day. Someone came up to my car, broke the window, and left 2 copies of Battlefield 2042 inside. So it was something like that. It just that I read that and
they left 2 copies of Battlefield.
I about died when I saw that meme. I was cracking up. Goodbye Volcano High is coming to PS5 and PS4. I know we had some really interesting opinions in the Discord about that one.
That's just too
as
much
well as
drama.
One of my buddies was like
a high school. Oh, it is a high school drama. Oh, I don't want that in my life.
Yeah.
Dang. 36.
One of my buddies,
I'm too over that.
I forget one of my buddies. He was like, "This sounds like Mindy Kaling wrote it."
I like Mindy Kaling. Okay, don't.
He was like, it seems like a game I would like. He's like, but the writing seems awful. he was
the writing didn't seem awful. It's just
he's like they seem like they're complaining all the time and
purposefully so dramatic. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yep. He was like the characters sound insufferable. So
yeah, that's high school though.
Yep. Oh yeah, we were all insufferable in that. Naruto X Boruto, Cross Boruto, whatever you want to call it. Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections, new trailer. I didn't even know that there was a previous trailer, to be honest with you, because I don't keep up with any of this stuff. Noah, was it good? I know you're into that area.
You can only repackage and repurpose the Ultimate Ninja Storm collection so many times.
Hey, they're Todd Howard. They're Todd Howarding this stuff, man.
If you want to rebuy, because they're talking like 4K 60 FPS on new gen consoles. I mean, you can watch people have re-edited the Naruto anime fight scenes in 4K 60 FPS, and that's free on YouTube. So my biggest thing, and I don't know if it's like the grammar in me, but like either Bandai either all caps your entire title or don't all caps any of it. Don't all caps Naruto, you know, Boruto, and then at the very end, Storm Collections. Like just all one. Because I was typing that out to get the news article up, and that was annoying. It was killing me. So yeah,
Stuff that really matters. That's how much this game
really
doesn't matter. You talk about the title. And
yeah,
having to
like
type
it's
the news.
literally the same stuff that we bought when we did the Storm Collection. All that fun stuff. So
I mean, One Piece Odyssey is half decent, so they're like, just throw this one out there. One Piece Odyssey is carrying us as far as our anime love.
literally carrying this. We just need to tide ourselves over till a new Tales game comes out. So.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we had a new trailer for Digital Extremes Wayfinder, the same people I believe that make Warframe. So I know you had something to say about this one, Noah. You were liking the look of it.
Yeah, like it's online MMO. It's got a hub world. The visuals on it from the gameplay alone looked really good. And I'm curious to see what more characters and playstyles they're going to add. Each one kind of looked really actually different in the way that they interacted with enemy combatants. And one of my favorite things about Warframe is the movement system in Warframe is fantastic. So if they can carry that over, I'm already sold. So it looks like a fun time. And the February, so 28th, so in like 4 days, they're doing a PlayStation exclusive beta that you should be able to go ahead and sign up for.
Somebody pointed out that it's like sci-fi Kingdoms of Amalur. If that's your jam, then this should probably fill that. Like I at least kind of see the whole Kingdoms of Amalur.
I can see the joke. Yeah.
Like I can see like at least the comparison of the way it looks. Like it definitely looks similar to that style. But
yeah, looks like a fun time. I'm definitely gonna try and hop into the beta and see what all the fuss is about.
Oh yeah, I gotta make sure and sign up for that before I leave today, or I'll forget. Any other thoughts on everything as a whole, gentlemen?
I guess the only thing I would say, why do we set ourselves up for these state of plays and all that? We always get hype. Oh my gosh. Here it comes. And then, as David points out, it could have been a blog post. And what I'm saying is, I think that's fine. They're informing us of some stuff that's coming out. I feel like whenever Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony does any of these things, we expect each one to be E3 levels of blown away every time. And it's like, nah, I think we have seen enough of these and have been disappointed with enough of these to go into it knowing don't expect much. In fact, don't expect much at all. Just watch it. If there's anything you like, enjoy it. If there's not, move on with your life. And then, if they actually do surprise us, okay, great. We got a surprise.
Got a freebie.
I feel like we just want bangers. Oh my god, we gotta have it. No, just watch it, guys.
Yeah, they did help set expectations for me at least, because
they
they're like, hey, this is what it's going to be. Even with what they were bullet point listing, I wasn't expecting a big huge surprise reveal, just because I think they're saving all their big stuff for the summer Games Fest, that whole E3 time when they do their own state of play for the big stuff. That's what
Well, supposedly they're going to do something before E3, so I'm very interested to see what happens there.
Is it around the time that the Summer Games Fest is going on?
Supposedly might be around May, actually. I'm just once again hearing rumors, but I could see them wanting to do something their own way, because that's PlayStation. PlayStation has become Nintendo in terms of communication. They do it the way they want, when they want.
PlayStation has become Nintendo in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel sorry for everybody else who's always disappointed in these things, and I'm like, guys, you're setting yourselves up.
Yeah,
I wonder,
and
where
it's Twitter's
comes from.
fault. It's Twitter's fault. Honestly,
It's
it's
not even
everybody
Twitter's fault all the time.
All of these people rile themselves up on it, and it's like, come on, bro,
Yes.
we've done this before
Many times. I feel like, I don't know if it's Nintendo's fault, because Nintendo does tend to do random things in their directs.
The just one more thing,
right?
Before we
stuff
go,
like that.
you know.
But I also feel like Nintendo fans are a different breed. But I feel like Sony fans are becoming like that too. The state of play. Oh my god, are they going to show
Wolverine game?
Yeah, and it's like
you're not shy. Like,
they're going to
way
show,
down the line.
They're going to tease God of War 3. It's like, no, they're not doing that. So yeah, that was my only other thought. I was just like, guys, yeah, this wasn't fantastic, but I'm also not disappointed because I saw some Street Fighter 6. I saw some Suicide Squad. I'm not like hyped over Suicide Squad, but I got to see some of it. I'm happy about that. So I got what I wanted out of it.
Yep. I got a clean, pretty looking Lightfall trailer. So I'm a
yeah,
happy
oh yeah,
boy.
and Lightfall, yeah.
You know, like that looks just incredibly dope. But yeah,
Chia is coming in a month. I'm excited about that.
Do what?
I said Chia is coming in a month. I'm excited about that.
That one, yeah. Like, it's, you know, the little things. You know, not every state of play is going to be a banger. Some of them aren't filler, and set your expectations. I think that's the best.
If they are, they're just doing it the wrong way.
if the way I always look at it is, if the Sony devs start hyping it, then you should be excited.
I would agree,
because a lot of times when they're talking,
expectations.
If they're talking about it, then that means they're excited to show you like something very specific. So
it's, you know, very, you know, going back to Destiny, when Bungie employees start tweeting out Bungie, you know, in all caps, you know that a big meeting just went down, that some stuff is coming that's really good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would expect honestly, we have actually we've gone like a year and a half without a big PlayStation showcase. So I would imagine they've got some big stuff to show off, especially because Spider-Man's around the corner. And honestly, that's a lot of what we know about. That and Wolverine are really the only two announced PlayStation Studio projects. I don't think we really know what any other team is working on at this point officially, the full teams. Not counting like Horizon's DLC or something, which I was a little surprised we didn't get a look at that since it comes out in April.
Yeah, in April, right? Yeah.
So
that'll be
who knows? We'll find out.
There you go.
Yep. That'll be an email.
Yeah,
it'll just email it out like, hey.
Well, all I know is the Star Wars Jedi Survivor is about to be the best game of all time because it comes out after Horizon.
Oh, yes.
Anything that comes out after Horizon to release is one of the best things to ever come out. So I don't know what comes out next week because we just had Horizon release for VR. So something good is right around the corner, guys.
D2 Lightfall. Let's just go there. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, let's go.
First game of the year. There you go. At least nomination.
And that is it for the news.
Yeah.
That is it.
That is it. All right. Fantastic. We all need to go to sleep. I need to rest my voice. So appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. We will be back. Yes, we will be back next week. I'm always cautious now after the holiday season. It's like, wait, are we going to be back? Yeah, we'll be back. So we'll be back. Deuces.
Peace.